Hello friends, welcome back to Anandi Astrology. In our last video, we learned the first 6 houses of the birth chart, and today we are going to learn the next 6 houses of the birth chart. So let us start. 7th house of the birth chart. 7th house of the birth chart, it indicates the marriage, the person's views about marriage. In case of male native, it is a house of spouse. In case of female native, it is a house of her husband. It indicates the nature of the spouse, her looks, her height, her color, complexion, etc. Then the relationship between husband and wife. Whether the relationship between the two is of attraction, is of love, is of harmony, or whether the relationship is of jealousy, hatred feeling, etc. Whether there are disputes, any quarrels between the two, differences of opinion, whether there is a possibility of breakups, divorce, viduity, the state of widowhood in case of female native. Thus, the 7th house prescribes the marriage life, married life, whether the married life will be happy married life or sad married life or medium level married life. All these things, they are prescribed on the basis of the 7th house of the birth chart. Then next point, it is the house of public image, the status of the native in the society, his relationships with the public, with the society, his social enemies, etc. The 7th house is the house of court cases, that means all the legal bondings. Then court cases, legal cases, whether the person, whether the native will get success in his legal matters. Next one, it is the house of partnership business. When there is business in partnership, this house indicates the nature of the partner, the relationship with the partner in business, whether the partnership business will lead in success or not. Then it is the house of sexual life, sexual relations between the husband and wife. Whether there are any sexual disorders, impotency, whether there is sexual satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Thus, this house also indicates the character of the person, whether the character of the person is good or inferior. The character is determined on the basis of the 7th house and also the position of Venus in the birth chart. Then the 7th house also indicates the all types of property, all types of money gains from the women in the society, or disputes due to the women in the society, if any, in the life of native. This is the house of, very important house to be taken into consideration to calculate the masculinity of the native in case of the birth of baby boy. 7th house also is the house of small journeys. 3rd house is also the house of small journeys, especially the journeys within the country. In the same way, 7th house also indicates the small journeys. This was all about the 7th house. Now we are shifting to the 8th house of the birth chart. The 8th house of the birth chart, it is the house of death of the person. The time, the place, the reason of the death. The place of the death means whether the native will be dead inside the house or outside the house or in the hospital. The reason of the death means whether the native will be dead due to his old age, due to any long-term disease in his life, due to accidents or any mishappenings, or he will commit suicide in his life. That means the end of life of the native is prescribed by the 8th house of the birth chart. Especially the 8th house is the house of accidents, physical disability of the native. Secondly, it is the house of obstacles, the weakness of mind of the native, the frustration, the desperity, the disappointment of the native. It indicates the deep and intense sorrow, grief of the native. His house decays, it decomposes the qualities, the talents, the skills of the native. This is the house of slavery, servitude, etc. This is the important house of money, like the second house of the birth chart. But this is the house indicating the sudden gains and profits of the native. Sudden gains through investments in share market, through speculation, betting activities, lottery, all types of races such as horse races, car races, etc. This house shows the property, house property, land property, through the gift deeds, through the donations. Property through the inheritance, which has been received in inheritance from the parents, grandparents of the native. It also shows the property and the money gains through adoption. This is very important house, money house, which shows whether the person receives, gains any money through the exploitation of the poor and miserable people in the society. This also shows the money received, derived by taking the curse of someone. It shows the excessive monetary benefit received by the native by giving grief or pain to someone. Then the money derived by taking the advantage of the incapacitative condition, of the blind beliefs, of the illiteracy of the people. Thus, 8th house is a very important house which shows all types of property, all types of money gains, all types of wealth that is derived by the native through the immoral, devious and inferior ways. This house also indicates the money or the property from the parents of the spouse through dowry, jointure, etc. In case of female natives, this is the important house to be taken into consideration for determining the happiness through the marriage life they get, and also their possibility of widowhood, their state of being widow. This is also the house of reluctance towards all the material things, material comforts and pleasures in the life. Lastly, this is the house of research and development activity. The researches, they are carried out in various fields such as space related researches, defense related researches, electricity, atomic energy, all types of consumer products, consumer goods. Then research and development work that is carried out in chemical industries, medicine industries, metals, minerals, physics, biology fields, etc. The persons working in the research and development department of any organization, in any industry, they have their 10th house placed in the 8th house or the 8th house placed in the 10th house. the Lord of 10th house and the Lord of 8th house. They get placed in each other's place, either each other's place. This is the information about 8th house. Now we are going to learn the 9th house of the birth chart. The 9th house of the birth chart, it is the first grade auspicious house of the virtues and pure qualities of the native. It is the house of positivity. It is the house of enhancement. It is the house of all the good actions and deeds that are carried out by the native throughout his life. This is the house of luck. The luck that supports the native in carrying out the various actions and activities in his way to life. This is the house of optimistic attitude of the native towards the life. Secondly, this is the house of godliness. The trustiness, the faithfulness of the native in God. Worship, veneration, prayer of the God. The divine blessings, the divine grace that he gets from the God. His respect towards his guides, his teachers, old age people, and the knowledgeable personalities in the society. The person's interests, this house shows the person's interest in the reading and writing, the study, especially the reading of religious and philosophical books. This is the house of strong base of meditation, spirituality, imagination, inspiration, intellectual creativity, self-realization, intuition of the native. Thus, it is the house of majestic delight of the soul of the native. 9th house of the birth chart also indicates the sacrifice of the native towards society. The teaching given to someone without any expectations. The social work done by the native in any social organization. It is the house of forgiveness, pity, mercy, compassion, consideration for the poor, miserable, needy and downtrodden people in the society. This is the house of justice and the respect for justice. 3rd house is the house of reading and writing capabilities of the native. The great writers, they have very well placed planets in the 3rd house. But 9th house is the huge, it is the giant, it is the magnificent, enormous, massive form of the 3rd house of the birth chart. That's why the writing skill, means the writing of the religious and the philosophical books which need high level of wisdom, expertise and scholasticism. All these things, all this type of writing that is inclined, that is indicated by the 9th house of the birth chart. It is very important house of Raj Yogas. It is the house of philanthropy, benevolence, charitableness, kindness. His feeling, his desire to help the people in the society. Means all the good qualities that are in the native. All these things, they are described, they are decided on the basis of the study of the ninth house. When the person has very strong planets in the ninth house, such as Neptune, Jupiter, Moon, Saturn, then that person receives the success in his life very easily, means with less efforts as compared to the other person who is doing very hardships and hard work. That means in that case the ninth house of the birth chart supports the native very well. Now we are going to discuss we are going to learn the 10th house of the birth chart. The 10th house of the birth chart is the house of firstly it is the house of the father of the native, the nature of the father. Then any diseases the father will have in his life, and mainly the relationship of the native with his father. Then it shows the surroundings that the native gets from his father. Physical surroundings, money benefits, and the losses or the benefits from those surroundings that the native gets. Secondly, it is the house of job, own business, profession, agricultural profession as well. This is the house of opportunities, then circumstantial support, environmental support, compatibility that the native gets for carrying out his business profession. This house also shows whether there will be any conflicts, clashes, collisions, struggle that the person will have while carrying out his business in his life. The special characteristic feature of the 10th house is this is the house of dominance. This is the house of dominance. The efficiency, the capabilities, the intelligence, the skills, the talent of the native, his energy to work, his ambitions, his perspective, his decision making capabilities. This is the house of authority, order, power, success. The name of the person in the society, the name, fame, the respect, renown that he gets in the society. The prosperity, the level of prosperity of the person that he will reach in his life. The glory of the person, it indicates, this house indicates the glory of the person. The next point of the 10th house is the house of government sector. 10th house is the house of government sector. Means it indicates the government jobs, government services. If we divide the government job, government service in 4 categories, 3 to 4 categories, then the class 1 level services, class 1 level jobs, the persons get in their life, they come under the governance of the 10th house. The class 1 officers in the army, navy, police department, then other administrative services of the nation like IAS officers, IFS officers, etc. They have very strong 10th house in their birth chart along with the 1st house and the 6th house of the birth chart. From 6th house, we especially determine the class 3 category and the class 4 category of government service, and class 1 and class 2 categories of government services. They are decided on the basis of the 10th house of the birth chart, taking into consideration the position of the sun, moon and the ascendant of the native. This house, especially 10th house, especially shows the tendency of the native to dominate, to govern, to head the society, the people in the society, at his working place also, at his business place also, etc. This is the house of vitality, the stage of vitality of the person, the stage of progress in his life, the peak success in his life. In case of female natives, this house indicates their love, their affection towards ornaments. Thus, this is the information about the 10th house. Now we are going to learn the 11th house of the birth chart. The 11th of the birth chart, 11th house of the birth chart is the very important money house. It is a very important money house, but this house shows the monetary gains, monetary profits that are derived by the native through his own efforts, through his own hard work. This house also shows the quantum, the volume of hard work he is required to take to get success in his life. This is the house which shows the retained profits. Retained profits means the savings of the native. Means whatever monetary gains he receives, and out of those gains, whatever expenditure he does, the balance is the profit. The balance is the savings. This house especially shows the savings, the surpluses with the native. This is the house which prescribes the continuous flow of income, the continuous flow of income through the each and every activity of the native. Thus, this house shows huge amounts of money, then the various precious jewelry like gold, silver, platinum, diamond jewelry with the native, the collection of high quality clothes, etc. Then the next point is 11th house is the house of desires. It indicates the strong desire of the native to gain, to have, to earn all types of materialistic things, comforts and pleasures in his life. And also it indicates whether those desires will get fulfilled or not in his life. This house also shows the attraction of the person for high quality clothes, for ornaments, jewelry, for latest trends and fashions currently going on, etc. The 11th house of the birth chart is to be taken into consideration with the 5th house while deciding the education of the native. His skill in the various arts like drawing, painting, music, singing, poetry, photography, etc. This house is the house of elder siblings of the native. 3rd house is the house of siblings, but it shows the smaller siblings of the native. And 11th house shows the elder siblings of the native. 11th house is to be taken into consideration especially in case of the education and the study of the native in law, judgment, philosophy, such fields. The next house of the birth chart is the 12th house of the birth chart. 12th house of the birth chart is called as the Vyayasthan. It is called Vyayasthan means it is the house of all types of losses of the native. Money losses, then authority losses, relationship losses, loss of friendships, etc. Loss of property, loss of land, agricultural land. This house also shows all types of fines and penalties. All types of fines and penalties. Then this is the house which shows the indebtedness of the person. His loans, his borrowings, his liabilities, and also his capacity to repay those loans. We have also studied the loans and the capacity to repay the loans in our previous video. In case of, while discussing the 6th house, the 12th house is the opposite of the 6th house of the birth chart. That's why all these things, they are also determined, such as debts, borrowings, loans, etc. All such things, they are determined on the basis of the 12th house also. Twelfth house is the house of all types of bondings, all types of crimes, criminal cases that the native will have in his life, his arrests, his imprisonment, and thus his dishonor, disreputation in the society. This house also shows, 12th house also shows all types of sacrifices the person does in his life. Sacrifices of relations, sacrifices of authority, power, etc. This house shows the reluctance, the detachment from the materialistic comforts in the life. This is the house of the important, very important point regarding 12th house. This is the house of meditation, spirituality, the connection and the association of the native with the gentle people, with the divine personalities, spiritual personalities, his mysticism, his interest in the study of obscure, occult sciences, mysterious things, etc. Thus, 12th house is very important house to be taken into consideration in case of spirituality, self-realization, intuition of the native, along with the 5th house and the 9th house of the birth chart. 3 houses are important in case of meditation and spirituality. 5th, 9th and 12th house. This is the house of all types of tensions, stresses, worries, anxieties, mental instability, restlessness that a person will have in his life. This is the house of also accidents, suicides, etc. Accidents, in case of accidents, we take into consideration the 1st house, the 4th house, 6th house, 8th house. Likewise, 12th house is also very important in case of accidents that will occur, that will happen in the life of the native. This house also indicates the social disputes, the quarrels, the disputes, the fightings, especially the fightings at the public places, on roads, and the physical injuries out of those fightings. 12th house is the house of enemies due to women in the society. The blemishes and the disgrace due to women that the native will have in his life. And this house also shows whether the native will have any feeling of grudge, malice, hatred feeling about women. 12th house is a very important house which indicates the diseases of the spouse. This is the house of diseases of the spouse of the native. This house is his own diseases. This house indicates native's diseases, and 12th house indicates his wife's diseases. All types of physical and mental diseases she will have in her life. The happiness in the married life that the person derives through his life. All types of sexual pleasures that the native will have in his life. This is also indicated by the 12th house. Then losses due to marriage. If there are any losses, because it is the house of losses. Monetary losses, also losses of relationships that were losses due to marriage. They are also prescribed by the 12th house. This is the house which shows all the sins, all the bad deeds, bad actions which the native will do in his life. And this is the house, very important house of detachment, virakti, detachment from all the materialistic things, comforts, pleasures, amenities, such as property, wealth, luxurious cars, big bungalows, big houses, etc. The detachment from all these things. This is the house of, especially this is the house of renunciation. The high level of spirituality, self-realization and renunciation, sannyas that the native will take in his life. That's why 12th house is called as the moksha sthan. Lastly, 12th house indicates the foreign travel and foreign settlement. In case of foreign travel, we take into consideration the 9th house. But in case of permanent settlement, whether the native will settle permanently in foreign countries, this particular thing, specific thing, is determined, is decided on the basis of the study of the 12th house, the planets in the 12th house. Thus, we have discussed, we have learned the 6 houses, the remaining 6 houses of the birth chart today. Today we are going to stop here our discussion. In our next video, we will learn in the next video about the various planets in the astrology and their placement in the various houses of the birth chart and their planetary combinations, graha yogas between them. Because this is very important in astrology. Every native has some particular zodiac sign. But his or her zodiac sign, that plays a partial role in his life. It is important, but it plays only a partial role. The main important thing is the placement of the planets in the birth chart and the various planetary combinations, yogas, graha yogas between them. And we will learn this thing in our next video, in our next lecture. So, today's discussion is over. So friends, do you like my information? Do you like my teaching? If you like my information, then please like my video, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you will get the notification of my next video very easily. Also, please share my video with all your friends, relatives, neighbors and all your known persons so that they will also get the very important information related to astrology. I have given my mail ID in the description box below. If you want consultation from me, you can email to me. So, thank you for listening my information, listening my video, and take care of yourself. Thank you very much.